Welcome to the SheShed. I am super excited to have you here with me tonight. Um, as many of you know, I am one of those people that I love interacting with people that others have that have overcome the all the things that someone said that they couldn't do. Because y'all know that was my story. Somebody said I couldn't, and what did I do? I turned that thing around and showed them that I could. And y'all know I'm one of those people that really believe in this. When you tell me I can't, I'm gonna prove to you that I can, and I'm gonna take a picture of it or put a pretty bow on it and show it to you because I'm just that one. And somebody would say that that's kind of cocky and arrogant, and I'll say no because for a long time I was told I couldn't do something, and I truly believed it. And now when I see myself doing things that is outside of the box, I celebrate. I don't celebrate it from a standpoint of um, trying to make someone else feel bad. I celebrate it because I overcame what I thought at one time I couldn't do. And so tonight I have someone in the studio that can attest to what I'm talking about. And I'm going to tell you just a little few fun things. And then I'm going to allow her to come in and tell you, all those things that we want to know. Because y'all know, y'all know. Y'all ain't strange and y'all ain't too new to the program. We like the juicy. So, but I'm going to tell you about Denise Schroder. She is a wife. She is a mother of five adults. And I can relate because I have five adults too. So, we kicked it off right good, right there on the top. She is the Coco of four grandchildren. And I love that, Coco. She is a realtor, a CEO, an author, a speaker, a coach, a marketing strategy, and the list goes on. But the one thing that I do love about her, if you saw the flyer, you see she is full of energy. She is a ball of fire, and that is exactly the type of people that we need around us. So, without further ado, I am going to bring Miss Denise online so she can join the party.
Hi,
Hey,
thanks for
girl,
having
how
me.
are ya?
I am doing great and I'm excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you here. I really am. If you could tell the people a little bit about
Mhm.
yourself and tell us that thing that people wouldn't believe.
Hmm. Well, I think in 1999, I realized the power of being vulnerable and connecting through storytelling. And that is kind of sharing your messy and not being afraid to be vulnerable because that's where we create connections.
Mhm.
And so I wrote into the Oprah Winfrey Show, and I remember emotionally just dumping this letter thinking, she's on my in my living room every day at 4 p.m. I stayed at home. I had a doctor tell me I had postpartum after my second child, and I knew 1,000% I didn't have postpartum. No one would listen to me. No one would take my blood. Everybody just wanted me to take Wellbutrin, check the box, and sit down. I'm not the type that sits down. And so I wrote her this letter, and then less than an hour later, I get a phone call from her executive producer. And I was like, what? And so she asked if they could fly out to our house and they film you doing your everyday thing, and they kind of build your story that they play during the show. Then they flew us back to Chicago, and I can remember sitting in the audience, and typically when Oprah like asks you a question, the camera just pans to you, so you don't really feel a lot of pressure because you're kind of just melted into the audience.
Mhm.
Well, about 10 minutes before we were starting to film, Oprah says, I want Denise up here with me the entire show. And I'm like, what is happening? And so I took a deep breath, I held my shoulders back, and I walked up and I sat down next to her, and she's doing sign language like under her chair, having someone change her mules and, unbuttoning her pants, saying she had too many carbs at lunch. Very relatable. And, I'm dying inside thinking, how am I going to carry this show? This is insane. This is my first public speaking gig to speak of.
Oh, wow.
So she basically whispers in my ear and she said, this is the deal. I want you to pretend that we are having a girl chat in my living room. If you do that, you're sitting here because you're vulnerable, you're transparent. You are not afraid to share your story. you have the ability to impact millions of women that are going through these same hormonal issues after childbirth. Can you do that? And when Oprah says, "Can you do something?" I said enthusiastically, "Yes, I can do that." So the show was like one of the highest rated in 99. So I got asked to go back in 2000, 6 months later, to do a follow up. And I remember feeling just not immediately in the moment, but later on, feeling the gravity of that opportunity and how rewarding it was. I would hear from the producer saying, things that we're getting messages, our site's blowing up because of your story that you shared. And so, hear me when I say that we all have a story, and people, they want to go, they want to see you at rock bottom, they want to see you on the climb. They don't want to just hear that you're an overnight success, because
Mm-hmm.
most people aren't. Let's
Correct.
be real, that maybe appear that way. So I was in this situation where I had worked in property management. That's leasing apartments, condos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had a supervisor come to me, and he said, "Denise, I don't want to lose you, but I see something in you. And I think the natural progression would be for you to get your real estate license." And he planted this seed in me that never went away. Well, my kids were young. I got to the point where, the last one was in preschool. I came to my friends and family and I said, "I want to get my real estate license. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I know this is my calling." And I was met with, "Well, you can't do that. Why would you think you could ever stand out or make it? Why would
Mm-hmm.
you line your garage walls with superficial pictures or signs with your face on them with no yard to stake? Like, what an insane idea." So, the dream didn't die, but I suppressed it. And I
Mm.
remember this soundtrack that was ingrained and on replay in my head. And the soundtrack was, "You're not enough. You don't have what it takes. You have no value. You have no worth. And you're simply not enough." And I realized I was in this relationship for almost 10 years, that every thought, idea, decision was based on creating peace in my environment at the detriment and death of myself. I had completely become a censored, watered down version of who I was. I was so lost, I didn't even know who I was anymore.
Mm.
So I realized that I needed to move forward and get out of this relationship. It was very dysfunctional. It was very toxic. It was very unhealthy. And I saw an advertisement on the Oklahoma City news channel, and it was from a reproductive center, and it was
Mm.
about donating your eggs.
Mm.
And when I recently wrote my book, I had never even shared this story of what I did with girlfriends that I've had in my life for 35 years. They read it in the book.
Wow.
And I basically wanted to have a nest egg. I had no resources. I had no savings account. My parents would be mortified if they knew I was in the position I was in. I didn't want them to be nervous or scared or bogged down by my problems. So I
Right.
chose to have pride. I chose to try to make my own path without letting other people help me.
Mm.
So I donated my eggs, and I gave myself injections, hormonal injections, 3 times a week for about 10 weeks. I was bruised. I was swollen. I was a hormonal wreck. I was a nightmare. And I was doing it all in secret. I had nobody to tell, no one to give me support. And I thought, well, this will be a starting point. Back in 2000,
Right.
$1,500 could be, a little nest egg that I didn't have. So I proceed to get out of my marriage, and it cost me $50,000 for a custody battle that I went through. It was the most dark, horrific time of my entire life. Anything that involves your children is it's just indescribable.
Yes, it is.
Going through a divorce is like kind of going through a surgery without anesthesia. It's
Yes, it
just
is.
awful.
Yes, it is.
So I was going through that, and then at the same time, my mother got misdiagnosed with a hernia. She was 49. I just turned 50 a couple months ago, so she was, my age. And when she wasn't getting better, the doctor said, "Let's do exploratory surgery." So she went in, did the surgery. He came out boasting, saying it was her tumor was encapsulated. We did find a tumor in her colon, but it's fine. She doesn't even have to do preventative chemo. So go forth with her 50th birthday celebration. And this is fantastic news.
Right.
Well, she wasn't getting better. She had never gotten released from the hospital 2 weeks later. And we found out, small town, we found out that a nurse that was in the OR said, yeah, we were surprised the surgery went so quickly because he was in a hurry to get to a college football game. Well, he left perforations all throughout her colon and she was dead 6 months later.
Oh my God.
So I was trying to figure out, what tragedy do I even grieve? You know, it was a very senseless loss. So I was in the middle of so much turmoil, and I decided, I need therapy. I can't do this on my own. And I really didn't want the unhealed parts of me to break other people around me. And I knew that I was going to hurt my kids if I didn't put myself back together, like
Right.
Humpty Dumpty. We've got to rescue ourselves. We
Yes.
have to do it. No one else can do it for us. We have
Yes.
resources, but we have to take those first action steps.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you because girl, you dropped a whole lot of nuggets up in there. I wanna go back for a moment. I want you to remember where you are. We're at that point
Mhm.
of Humpty Dumpty. Okay, so what I want to know, like you said something that was key is making sure sometimes you got to get to the point where you share your messy, and so often we
Mhm.
as women we don't want to share our messy,
No,
because then it's all these things of what are they going to think about me? How is it going to look?
right.
Dot dot dot.
Will they
And
judge
you
me?
also
I won't be good
said,
enough.
yeah, that's where I was going. You was like you were being told, or
Mhm.
may even told or being felt that you weren't good enough, that you couldn't do it, that you couldn't get your realtor's license. But what? And I'm sure you may be getting to that, so I don't want to jump ahead of your story. But even at that point, you said that the feeling never went away. So when that feeling never went away, Denise, how did you feel? How did it make you feel like I want to do this, but I don't have the support?
Right. I I felt like I had an elephant on my back. I am one of those girls that gets up every day and does glam, wears high heels. My mom said I broke her water with high heels on. So I am a very dressy, person, and I didn't get out of scrubs. I worked as a surgeon, an OB surgery tech. I didn't get out of scrubs for 6 months.
Mm,
I was just in a really dark depression. And so when I was going to therapy, I remember saying, I'm too broken to be fixed. I'm
mm,
here. I stepped in your office, but I don't think you can help me. So I went 2 times a week, and she just said, God has more for your life. Don't accept this. Don't subscribe to this. Become non negotiable. Rise up. When you don't have the strength, you have to develop your get up muscles. Get around people that can pull you up. Have a tribe of people that hold you accountable, that will be the first to cheer for you and have pom poms in their pockets with the smallest victories, but they will get on their knees and in the gritty gravel and pray for you,
yes.
but they will be there to hold your feet to the fire. And so that was what I started creating when I was starting to get healthy and stronger and truly rediscovering who I was.
Mhm.
And so I moved to a little suburb, and a few years later, and I was working in an office, and in walks my FedEx guy. Okay. Sexiest legs. His picture's behind me, but his legs aren't on the pictures. I'm sorry, ladies, because they're unreal. He walks in, he's got the biggest blue eyes. I always called it this Julia Roberts, like Watt smile, and these legs. But I could tell from the first day I met him. Have you ever met someone where you look in their eye and you can tell they're salt of the earth? Like you can just kind of see their soul. They're good people, good stock. Well, we saw each other every day for 5 years before our first date.
Oh,
And once we went on our first date, we got married a few months later. We blended 5 teenagers, 4 of them were girls. So it was a hormonal circus in my house, estrogen overload.
mhm.
And then we quit our jobs on the same day within a year that we got married, which, they always say there's too much change. Don't change jobs after someone dies, don't make major decisions. Well, we were making all these major decisions after trying to not just get married, but mesh all these changing birth orders and throwing all these kids in like a melting pot. So we quit our jobs. We did some financial services. The gentleman that had talked us into going with the company, we were selling life insurance and health insurance that Troy had wanted to do. He lied to us. This friend of his, he said, I'm wildly successful. The company is in a great position. Well, we found out shortly after we quit our jobs with all these mouths to feed that he was going bankrupt. So all of it was a lie. After we leave, great benefits, good paying jobs. So we did not tell anyone in our life that we were pivoting, because we were never going to give people an open door or the ability to say, told you so. Go get a
Mhm.
job. Told you shouldn't have gotten rid of those benefits. Told you shouldn't have left your security. Told you should have stayed on your ledge. So we did a few sales jobs where I walked around in 110-degree heat and assessed roofs. In Oklahoma, we get tornadoes. We get 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So people have to replace their roof a lot.
Wow.
I'm not a roof salesman. Can you imagine me in 4-inch heels checking a roof? Okay, it's not a fit for my job profile,
No,
like, at
no.
all. But the reason I share that with you is because we did whatever it took. We did whatever it took to float the boat and to move to Troy saying, I want to do real estate. Will you do real estate? You think we should do real estate together? And I said, well, the angels were singing, first of all. It's like, are you kidding me? So I said, I have waited 20 years to pursue this calling. We're going to go big or we're going to go home. Like, failure, it's not an option. So I told him, I said, we're going to take the negative seeds that somebody planted in me 2 decades ago that said I could never stand out, that I didn't have what it took, and we're going to use that as a propellant. It's like throwing Miracle Grow on the situation. So we started real estate and we did not have a paycheck for 7 months. So that was incredibly, incredibly difficult. Um, I can remember thinking, my God, am I where I'm supposed to be? Because why would God lead me down this path where I had to wait 20 years and then nothing's happening? We have systems in check. We've gone to every class. We're doing everything humanly possible to succeed, but nothing was happening. I called my dad one day, and he's never worked for the man. He has a college degree, but he went right back into the family farming business. I called him and I said, Dad, I know you can't fill mom's shoes, but I really just need you to be mom. I need you to listen. I need you to let me be emotional. And I feel like quitting. I don't know what to do. I'm like, is this where I'm supposed to be? I said, I'm planting all the seeds. I'm doing all the action steps. He said, Denise, what have you seen me do my entire life as a farmer? And other than check the weather, all they do is watch the weather. Everything revolves around the weather, the wind. I said, I've watched you get up every day without cease at 5:30 in the morning, and you had systems. You went out and you planted and you plowed and you constantly nurtured and you sprayed for weeds and you tilled before the harvest, months and months and months and months of work and grind before the fruit. And he said, I'm watching you, and you are planting such a bountiful crop that I can't wait to see your harvest. He said, and don't you dare think about quitting, because you're almost ready to have a breakthrough.
Wow.
And I remember getting off the phone thinking, feeling refreshed, feeling recharged. We all need that sometimes. That's why we
Absolutely.
need coaches and tribes and mentors in our life. And that last 5 months out of the year, we sold 40 homes, which I think the average agent sells like 4 to 8. And so, God told me in a profound way, this is where you're supposed to be, but I wanted you to be faithful. I
Wow.
wanted you to be faithful through the harvest. And so, since then we're top 1% of 7,000 realtors in our marketplace in Oklahoma City. And then we've sold over 700 homes in 10 years. And so we've been really blessed. And God has 100% used my failures, my mistakes, my denials, my trials. He's used that so that I can be that lighthouse and that beacon of hope to other people. He's opened doors that I never would have imagined. I became a family law mediator and I got my certification in certified divorce real estate because I had such a deep empathy for anyone walking through real estate needing to sell property, knowing that it's more than just putting a sold sign. You're selling your life, you're selling your
Exactly.
memories. And you have to have someone that legally understands the real estate process and the court process are going on simultaneously at very different speeds. So it's important someone handling your largest asset understands the legality side. And so
Absolutely.
I've been able to be a gift to people in that way and walk arm in arm with them. And, I just think that God will truly use you if you allow him to. And you
Hmm.
have to be vulnerable. There's no other way around it because that's how people can be on the other side of a tunnel, right? And
Yeah.
you may not be able to see the light, but if you're walking and you're putting one foot in front of the next, you can hear my voice saying, "You can do this,
It
Tina.
is. Hmm.
I'm right here. I did it. I made
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm right here." And so that's when, we just started surrounding ourselves with intentionally surrounding ourselves with, productivity coach, mentors. We were hanging out with people that were far more successful than us, but not just in business. They had success at home. They
Yes.
had thriving relationships with their children and their spouses. And it was more than just how much money are you depositing in the bank? There's
Right,
so much.
right, right. So I mean, so many again, so many nuggets, so many nuggets. So one of the things that you said was, I mean, I want to go back for a minute when you said you had to develop your get up muscle. That's
Mhm.
big. Like people need to
Yes.
hear that twice because so often, we allow things to knock us down and then we
Right.
stay down. But that muscle is built when you
Mhm.
keep getting up. It's not when you get up one time, it's when you keep getting up.
Right. You
And
don't always have someone to pull you up either, so you have to develop your own muscles.
that's another good nugget. You're right. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, and so then you ask yourself, okay, so here I am, I'm down, and
Yeah,
I don't know how to get up. Like you said, I
right.
love what your dad told you. I love
Mhm.
that he gave you a picture. He didn't just say, "Girl, you can do it. Come on." He showed you and he reminded you,
Right,
"What have I been doing?" And sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to show
right.
people. And that's exactly what you were saying as a
Mhm.
divorce realtor. I love that. I love that you are using the gift that God gave you in so many different ways. Like, I'm trying not to get ahead because I have so many questions. So, what is it if someone was like, well, you explained it really good, but there's someone that didn't hear it. What exactly is a divorce, or someone that helps during that period?
It's like a certification that I flew to California and I went. It's a 40-hour course, and I'm basically, I went through a very acrimonious divorce and custody battle, so I had
Mhm.
a very keen sense of knowledge about the process because I was in litigation for so long. I learned
Right,
things that I wish I never would have known.
right,
But I had read a book about someone that had written, the course, and was an author, and I reached out to her, and she actually interviewed 40 in the country to be a part of a beta group. So I went out there, got the certification, and you learn from judges and attorneys. You are learning very, very meticulously how you need to document the situation like you're going to be on a witness stand. And
hmm,
oftentimes I am.
yeah,
So it is a whole different animal than just being a realtor.
hmm,
It's like two separate jobs.
hmm,
And I have to care for that in a way that um, could be detrimental to
yeah,
people. So I take it very seriously. And I
yeah,
think when you're going through divorce, sometimes, like when I went through divorce, and maybe you as well, and you've gone through battles, I felt like all these people were being plucked out of my life. I was losing people, and I realized new people were being transplanted, but I also felt like during a time, like when I couldn't get out of bed, I felt like I was being buried. Like I could literally feel the dirt, like someone was shoveling dirt on me in a grave.
wow,
Years later, I realized, oh my God, I was not being buried. I was being planted. But when
yes.
you're in it, you don't feel like you're being planted,
No, you don't.
And so you just have to do an autopsy on your life and who's in your life and who's influencing. If you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, who are you hanging out with?
That part. That part. I mean, but let's unpack that, because you think about back in the day, the people that we hung out with, and we're trying to figure
Mhm.
out why our lives are so in such turmoil. And you look at those people
Right.
like, oh, that's why. And then, like you said, when you
Mhm.
start hanging around individuals that are living the life that you want to live,
Right.
I don't know who said it, I don't know who coined it, but it was like when you sit at the table with successful people, the conversation is different.
It
You
is
don't
different.
worry about what happened
Mhm.
last year. You don't even worry about what happened yesterday. You're thinking about
Mhm.
what we gonna do tomorrow. And that's a very good place to be.
Mhm.
So if you were sitting and you were talking to a young lady right now, and someone had told her, you can't do that, you will never be able to do that, why do you want to put put your face in a garage where no one sees it? That was the thing that was it.
Yeah.
What would your advice to her be?
I would say do an autopsy on everyone in your life, cut people from your tribe, painful as it might be. Focus on your self-worth, yourself, helping yourself. For me, it was therapy. I mean,
Mhm,
that, not everyone believes in therapy, and that's fine. But for me, I made a commitment to myself, and it wasn't just like once every 2 weeks, it was twice a week that I was going in because I wanted to unpack the reasons why I was making choices and allowing people to dictate my soundtrack.
yes.
And I had to be reprogrammed from the relationship
Mhm,
that I was in. And you may not have been in a bad relationship. You may just be in this cycle where you're allowing, your negative talk to make you convinced that you can't do something.
mhm,
But
mhm.
you really have to focus on changing your mindset. Mindset is everything.
Everything, everything. And I think sometimes we fail. You said earlier when you was talking about, you was like, I was in survival mode, and there was a watered down version of myself. And so often,
Self-preservation mode, really.
yeah, like, yeah, just I just need to get up every day. If I can get up
Mhm.
every day, and sometimes it's not even getting out of bed, it's just if I can wake up, that's a good thing, and I don't have no energy to
Exactly.
do anything else. And I think it's so key and important for people to realize, like, if you can open your eyes, there is something else for you to do that day.
Mhm.
Just
Oh,
figure
yeah.
out that. Just do more than you did the day before. And you are a testament of that. The other thing that you said that I really, really liked was you had to learn to grieve. You had to learn to
Mhm.
grieve what was no longer there, and it was
And give
okay.
myself permission that it was okay.
Yeah. What did that look like? What did it giving yourself permission? What did that look like?
It was hard because I was taking care of everyone. I was taking care of my father. He was really in a bad place, and my children who didn't understand.
Right.
And, I'd been a stay-at-home mom. I had to go get a job where I was working nights as an OB surgery tech. Sometimes I wasn't even sleeping because I would work nights, and then, my kids are little. It wasn't easy. Um, you have to value yourself. And I think that I got to a point where I knew that if I wasn't taking care of me, I could not care for other people in any sort of way that would bless them. It was going to end up being more of a hindrance when I'm giving them just a leftover, spilled out version of me that wasn't good.
Right.
And I just refused to do that. I had lived so many years, just living to please other people. And I just had to rise up for me and not feel guilty about it, which was really hard for me because I'm a people pleaser by nature.
I can attest. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I can attest to that. So, but then as you came out and you realized the worth and how much
Mhm.
more and better of a person you are when you do put yourself, I tell people sometimes, I want you to put yourself on the front burner, but even if you just put yourself on the stove, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what does that feel like when you made that turn and you landed your eyes on
Mhm.
this handsome guy with these blue eyes and these legs,
Mhm.
and you
Oh,
realize,
yeah.
okay, this is turning around for me. What did that look
Yeah.
like for you? How did that feel?
I came to the place where I told Troy, I said, I'm so thankful we get to do this together. However, I want to pave our own lane. And he's outgoing, but I'm a lot more gregarious. I grew up in theater and went to college on a singing scholarship. I'm performative. I am a storyteller. And so I said, you're going to get drawn into this, like in a big way. So I got us on HGTV House Hunters 4 times, which 96 million households watch this show. So when I was talking about going big, he would look at me and be like, are you serious right now? I have to get in front of these cameras. We were blended family experts on Steve Harvey. We talked about dangers of teen technology. I did Food Network, Worst Cooks in America. Rachel Ray. I'm the host. We are the host of American Dream Selling Oklahoma City. And we have used media, TV, storytelling on not just real estate, topics that I'm passionate about. Use your ability to write and to storytell. People want content. They want
Yeah.
press releases. They want human interest stories. People are starving for good inspirational content in your local newspaper, in blogs. You just have to reach out and volunteer to do those things. I volunteer to speak and teach at high schools and college universities on leadership. And oftentimes I have people come to me and say, hey, I want to get my real estate license. Can you help me? Just from planting seeds in people. We decided we were going to do things in a different way. I decided, and he came along for the ride, thankfully. We do things very quirky. When it's time to take care of business, we're the keenest negotiators you'll find. We communicate at a high level, but we've earned the right to be creative. So we do, if an appraisal comes in, when you buy a house, it has to be appraised, and the appraisal comes in, we'll get our cheerleading uniforms on, our Spartan cheerleading uniforms on, and we'll do a personal cheer for the client saying, your house appraised. This is great news. We will do dance and dashes when we drop off Christmas gifts at their door. Everyone has a Ring doorbell, and it's like a stage for us. So we come up with this little choreography. If you were going to buy a house and you made an offer and there were 10 offers on the home, it's a big deal for you to win the multiple offer. So
Right.
we show up in Publishers Clearinghouse fashion with our big poster boards and balloons, and we're like, you got the house. We celebrate and we want to create joy with our clients. In my business, selling a house, buying a house, it can all be stressful.
Mhm.
We want to create those pockets of joy with people when we have the opportunity, and memories, and that really anchors with them, that transcends the transaction, which can be true in any industry, no matter what you do.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
an HVAC company that if you call and you say, I'm Tina, I need to get my air conditioning fixed, they're going to give you a little new client questionnaire. And it's a few questions. They're going to ask you some questions about your house. Then they're going to say, what's your favorite item under $20? Well, you might say it's, I don't know if you have Brahms or Sonic or what you have, but, a certain brand of drink, or
Right.
an ice cream bar, Snickers ice cream bar, whatever it is. It could be 2 tacos from Taco Bell.
Mhm.
They will bring that to you every time they have an appointment at your house. Every time you have an anniversary, like a year anniversary of like your home being serviced,
Yes.
like elevating what we do for people. Like in our
Yes.
business, we roll out red carpet for every event. I've always done that for my friends and family when they stay the night, because I've always been really into drama and acting. And so it's just part of who I am. Well,
Right.
I thought, why not extend that to our clients? Because it's all
Wow.
about how we make people feel. And so think about, how would you want to feel? What would your experience want to be like? And that's not just in real estate, that's in any industry.
Anything. Anything.
What can you do to differentiate?
Do you think that some of that, like, I know I feel you. I am not, yes I am, but I'm not as dramatic and as you, but I'm that type of person too. I
Yeah.
like, it's all about the feeling. It's all about how you
Mhm.
make people feel. But I know for me, it was one of those things too. I do it because I did not get it,
Mhm.
you know?
That's deep. Some people give things because it's their love language, and my love language is words of affirmation and acts of service. So I
Absolutely.
give those things really freely, and they were given to me by my parents, but I can
Mhm.
totally see when you feel devoid of something, you want to give it to people because you know what that
Absolutely.
empty tank feels like.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think that it's so key. So are your kids do your kids help you with the theatrics and everything? Are they like
Oh
not on?
gosh, it's like pulling teeth to get my kids involved. My son is in law school and he has a real estate minor, and I'm hoping that I can get him pulled over into my business. As far as doing TikToks with me, probably not. I can get my daughter to do some, but I get my grandkids in my TikToks. I mean, we do all kinds of theatrics. But you know what I was going to tell you was one thing I did recently was I read this book that motivated me to write my own book. And I read a book called Find Your Yellow Tux. And it's this guy named Jesse Cole. And he bought a broke, silly baseball team, minor league baseball team in Savannah, Georgia. Google it, the Savannah Bananas. And everybody said, You're stupid, you're crazy. Why would you buy this team? It has no promise. It's going nowhere. He's like, I'm doing it. He sold his house. His wife and him moved 2 blocks away on an air mattress. And now he has recreated the game of baseball where it is a baseball game that breaks out into a circus. And he is the greatest showman, right?
Oh my
And so
gosh.
he has an ESPN show. He wrote a book. He is a very highly sought after public speaker nationwide on leadership, creativity, business development, defying the odds when people tell you you can't do something. And I reached out to him on LinkedIn, and there was a character max, which wasn't good for me because I like a lot of characters, and because I wasn't connected to him on there. And I said, I just read your book. It changed my life. I want you to know I'm going to write a book, and you've changed my life. You're my spirit animal. I felt like he was my brother from another mother. Well,
Oh
he wrote
wow.
me back, just like Oprah. I'm like, he wrote me back. And I said, I want to be on your podcast, thinking that he'd say, who is this crazy lady? Well, he's like, yeah, come on my podcast. Well, now they are doing a Savannah Banana world tour where they do these baseball circuses. Well, I found out we were supposed to go to a leadership conference that he picked 20 business owners around the country to go to. Well, COVID happened. So we never got to go.
Right.
So I found out they were coming to Oklahoma City, and I emailed them and I said, I want to put you on my segment of American Dream of Savannah Bananas, and I want to tell your story, like
Right.
how you defied the odds.
Right.
So May 26th, I get to interview him as being someone told him he could never make it, told him it was a stupid idea, and now he is being blessed exponentially. And it's like that was coming from me just doing a simple message saying this resonated. I mean, authors love this. If something resonates,
Absolutely.
tell people. If you think it, say it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll be honest. I think it's to me, it just makes my heart skip a beat when someone comes to me and say something they
Mhm.
read in my book made them feel good. And I'm like,
Right, doesn't
or
it?
changed their lives or they didn't do anything. And
Yes.
we take and we hold it and we think, oh, they don't care. Yes, we do. We want to
Yeah.
know that. We
And we
need to
don't
hear.
always know. We're not always gonna know, but when we do, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, I am super excited. I am glad to now have you in my circle of friend, my circle of
Yes.
influence. So I have a
Feelings
question
mutual.
for you. It was a question I always ask everyone. If you could go back to the person that
Mhm.
you were prior to when you was the leasing agent, knowing what you know now about your life, what would you
Mhm.
tell you?
I would tell myself that my identity is in Christ. It's not in what anybody on this
Mm.
earth thinks of me.
Oh
And
my gosh,
I
that's
would
big.
live, yeah, because I think, I was taught that. But it wasn't internalized enough in me that when I went through trauma and went through things, that my spirit kept hold of it. Today, and my husband will tell you just the change he's seen in me. We've been married almost 14 years, but he said, "You are a rock. You're a warrior. You are no longer broken and spilled out. You're no longer lost." And I do not negotiate with people on my self-worth and my value. I do have what it
Absolutely.
takes. I am worthy. I am
Yes.
loved, and I am enough. And so are all of you.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. I love it. You are the epitome of what a boss is. So for me, being a boss is being bold. You're definitely bold. Optimistic, absolutely. Strategic, self-reliant, you got it all, girl. I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
taking the time out of your day to just come and hang out with me and just talk to me. And if you will hold on 1 second, I'm gonna close out and then I'm gonna come back and talk to you. Hold
Okay.
on one moment. Okay, so y'all heard it straight from her mouth. She told you to stop letting people define who you are and be authentically who you were called to be. She also told us sometimes we got to stop and we got to be willing to share our messy. I love that statement. Like, it's not about what other people think about you, it's what you think about you. And then when she said, and she ended it up and she was talking about how her true identity is in Christ, it's not in anyone else. It's what God thinks about you. It's really not what other people think about you because remember, they are judging you according to their perception, not your reality. So once you realize and you understand that, you will make different decisions. You will do things a whole lot different. Get out of the survival mode. That's not where you're supposed to be. Stop being a watered down version of yourself. It's time to develop that get up and go muscle. I loved how Denise said that. It's like it is time to let stretch that muscle a little bit. Make it stronger, make it bigger. Be exactly who you are because remember, you are the boss. You are the CEO of your own life and you have the right to promote, demote, and terminate anything and anyone that is no longer serving you. I love you and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Y'all have an amazing time. I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. Bye bye.